everybody, and welcome to episode 36 of All About African Violets. All About African Violets is musically sponsored by Ted Yoder. You can hear and purchase his wonderful music on his website at tedyoder.com. It's also available from iTunes. Hi everybody, how are you? Kind of casual here today, kicking back, actually a busy day, learning to make bread from a whole new kind of recipe thing that I'm trying, and it's kind of exciting. I'm a little nervous about it. We'll see if it works. It's in the refrigerator. It's from a book called Artisan Bread in 5 Minutes a Day. So I'll let you know how it goes in the next couple weeks. Well, I've had a pretty interesting week, and I have heard from a lot of you. Last week's episode was probably one of the more polarizing episodes I've done, and it was surprising to me. There was I got messages, we got comments on the website, I've got messages on Ravelry, I got all kinds of information from people, and people shared their stories with me about trying to give plants away and not always being successful with that. It was very, very interesting to me, and I just wanted to say to you guys, it's a real cornerstone of how I grow. But I also realize that not everybody grows for show. So, you know, we're all going to have our own opinions, and that's okay. But I'm very encouraged by the number of you who wrote to me and said, I looked at my shelves after the podcast last week, and I realized I needed to make some decisions, and so I went about limiting my collection. And the sense of actual joy from some of you, that all of a sudden things seemed to be a whole lot more manageable and you were feeling better about your plants. I love that. So congratulations for those of you who are able to make that step to kind of say, okay, I don't need 4 of this one. I really only need 1, and to move forward that way. I congratulate you. It can be a very daunting thing to do, and so you guys really did it well. So thank you. It heartens me that so many of you are so passionate about these plants that we love, and that you're growing them and you're trying new things, and that you're enjoying the podcast in that respect of learning maybe something new that maybe you didn't know before. I had a friend say to me, how is there so much to talk about with African violets? I mean, don't you run out of things to say? No, not so much. Not yet. So we've got a lot to talk about. I just, boy, you know, somebody asked me the other day, and I said, oh yeah, I could talk about African violets till the cows come home. So let's go on to tips and treasures, because today I have some footage for you. We've been talking about the big box violet, and I find it very hard to believe, but it has been 6 months since I came home with a violet from a big box store and a self-watering pot and some commercial African violet mix that already had fertilizer in it, and decided to perform an experiment. And as you guys have seen throughout the months and weeks on the look on the stands, it's been pretty successful, because I think that's so important, and I'm really glad that it's been successful, because I do realize that not everybody grows for show. Sometimes you just want to have a blooming plant in your home to brighten your day every day, and African violets can do that on so many levels for so many people. So to know that you can take a plant from the big box store and pot it into a self-watering pot, put it in a window right behind me. Actually, that's a western window. That's an eastern exposure, that window is. And just let it grow in natural light. Have it bloom in winter when the days are short. So it's very, very possible these plants of ours have an undeserved reputation as being difficult to grow. Of course, you know, I have my issues with minis and semis, so, but in terms of standards, I just feel like they're not that hard to grow, and our experiment with the big box violet, I think, proves that. So today, it's 6 months, and when you use a commercial potting mix like the one I use that has fertilizer in it, generally speaking, they say that lasts for about 6 months. And generally speaking, you should be repotting a standard African violet at least every 6 months. So today I repotted the big box violet, and I'll take you with me. Hi everybody, it's time to repot the big box violet. Here it is, it's looking so beautiful. And here is my bowl of mix that I'm going to use. And I just want to show you, I've mixed it up already and added some perlite to it. Sorry. This is what I used. I used the Miracle-Gro African Violet potting mix. This is the one with the fertilizer in it. And here, let me just move this. I just want to show you what it looks like in the bag. Do you see how dark it is? And now do you see how much I cut it with perlite? Sometimes I think the visual is better than anything else you could see. So let me just, it comes in a Ziploc bag, so I'm gonna seal it back up and trying to put things away lately. So, all right, first, I'll take this out of the pot. Now there's a little bit of water down there. See, just a little bit left. And here's our plant. Beautiful big box violet. First thing you always have to do when you are repotting, really, is you got to take the blossoms off. So even though it was sending up more blossom stalks here, it is really wanting to bloom. This is great. I'm going to take them off because we're going to repot, and we want the energy of the plant to go into getting itself settled in the pot. There we go. Now there are a few, need my little bent nose tweezers, really small ones that I want to take out of there. One more. Okay, you can see that this plant is a little bit crooked and kind of leaning. Some of the leaves want to grow this way. Some of that is from being hit up against the glass or the plexiglass of the conservatory stand upstairs. I'm just going to set it, actually, let me set it in a saucer. There we go. So here are our beautiful big box blossoms. Gone. Yikes. That kind of makes me sad. Now the water, this is water just from the kitchen. I ran it through my Brita pitcher. There is no fertilizer in it. And I have just poured it in here. And as usual, I have one of my grandma's old spoons. And I do this just to make sure that, you know, peat, when it has been sitting, this has got this loop on it and it makes not a lot of noise. When peat has been sitting, it can dry out, and you want to make sure that it is at least damp before you start. So this looks pretty good. I give it a squeeze, it holds together, and yet it falls apart easily. That's kind of the oxymoron that you need. And you see now it looks darker because it's wet, but it does have a lot of perlite in it. So now, next step is for me to find the paper towels and get the dirt off my hand. I don't know where they are. Oh, here they are. Or here's one anyway that I can use. Sorry, stepped out of frame. Okay, now I'm back. So now let's kind of look at this plant. Now here we had a little, this is a kind of a wonky leaf. It had a mar in it, and you know, and these are all smaller than the newer growth. Now one of the things I want you to notice about this plant, it has been grown in natural light, and this has what is often referred to as a wagon wheel shape. That means that the peduncles are longer and you can see the dirt through them. And some plants grow this way naturally, some grow this way in natural light. And you know, without growing this on a stand, I don't know which category this one falls into, but I just wanted to show it to you so that you would see it. So now I'm just going to go through, and I'm going to take at least the lower rim off, and that one just pulled that leaf as well. So that is all right. So this is, I'm learning, because you know, I've not done this with one of these plants before. I've never grown in a self-watering pot, and this soil is a little bit damp, and these leaves are turgid, which makes it far easier to break something off than if they were a little bit dry. Okay, so I'm going to try to be a little more careful here the rest of the way. This could turn out to be a nightmare. You never know. All right, a couple more. Well, it's not too even. Take this one, and I think that's gonna be enough. Oh, I should probably take this one. Okay, that's enough. All right, so now we have kind of a normal shape. It's a whole lot smaller, and we have a whole pile of leaves. And once again, limit your collection. Enough said. All right, so now I'm looking at this, and I am just going to take a chance. I'm going to put my hand in there. Wow, I don't know how to do this, you guys. It's really in here, and it doesn't want to loosen up. All right, let me get some tools. This is one of my tools that I often use. It's actually a dental tool. I think I've shown it to you before. It's metal. It has a flat, like a spatula almost. And I'm going to use it to just sort of I'm just kind of sticking it along the sides in an effort to loosen things up, in the hope that this will, and I'm being really careful of these leaves. Okay, alrighty, now it's loose, it's crooked in the pot, that was my fault. All right, we got it. All right, now it's got all this big fat root ball, lots of roots, and the very bottom was just left in there. So now the next step is going to be washing this pot, because we got to put it back in here. So hang on, I'll wash the pot and I'll be right back. Okay, all clean. I did not use soap. I don't know if that would be a good idea on a pot that's this porous, it's not glazed, that the soap might get in there. So I just used water, warm water, and I cleaned it out really well. So there it sits. So now let's take a look at the big box violet, because it's got this huge root ball, and my instinct is to really cut this down. for a number of reasons, not the least of which is that I took a lot of leaves off of this. It doesn't need all these roots anymore. So hang on for just a moment. I'm going to try to move the camera over to where you can see me do this right over the trash. Okay, hold on. Okay, this is kind of an interesting angle. We are right over the trash. These are the legs of the tripod. And I hope you can see this pretty well. It does look a little dark to me, but I think you can see it. The first thing I'm doing is I am gently removing the loose soil that is around the top and also on the sides. And you can hear it just falling right down into the trash. It's really just coming, I mean, I'm just gently teasing this soil. And again, it's damp because it's in a self-watering pot. So I've gotten quite a bit of it off now. So take a look. See? Before this was at least to where my finger is, and it's now kind of a different shape. But really, I haven't even removed any roots yet. That's just the dirt, you know, easily coming off the old dirt. So we do want to get rid of that because it's of no use to us anymore. This had those fertilizer balls in it, and they're spent now. It's been 6 months. Can you believe it's been 6 months since we got the big box violet and potted it up? Wow. Well, now I am taking some of the roots. You can see that they are just kind of hanging off here. I'm just removing them and come right off. And we've got a nice size little root ball. We've got a little bit of a neck on this plant from the leaves that I took off. And now I think it's ready for us to try to pot it back up in the pot. So hang on and we'll move back over to the other side of the potting bench. Okay, we're back here, and a little bit of dirt. Sorry, I should have cleaned that up before I came back over. I'll do it right now. There. Since I got my potting bench all nice and cleaned up last week, I'd like to try to keep it that way for a while. Now this poor big box violet, it does look a little lopsided, but I think it's going to be all right. It goes against everything that I know and that I have learned in my years of growing African violets, to put this size plant back into this size pot. I mean, this pot just seems gigantic to me for this plant, but we've already proven that it works. So I'm just gonna fill it up. I am not tamping this dirt down. It's very loose in here. I'm just kind of placing it there and see where we are. I think that that is just about right. Maybe a little bit more. I just want the leaves to clear. I don't want them to be sitting down in the pot. I want them to be able to grow straight out. And that does seem to be how they're growing. Now I'm trying to do a little better job of getting this centered in the pot this time. And now I'm going to fill it in with the spoon and just gently. And I'm using a very small spoon. This is a teaspoon because I can get in under there. And remember, these leaves are very turgid. That means they can break very easily. So I don't want to try to be jamming a great big spoon or scoop in there. I just want to try to use the one I have that's small and that will allow me to get in where I need to be. Okay. So this is looking okay. Okay, that's that. And then I have my handy dandy paintbrush, and I'm out of the frame. Sorry, you guys. There we go. Now I'm going to just do a little bit of cleanup here on the pot itself, on the rim there. I'm going to use my same tool. I'm just moving some of the dirt around. I'm not pushing it down. I'm just shifting it so that it's even in the pot. And now I am going to clean this one right away, just because I feel like I should. It's not a show plant, and it does seem to be relative. This is not a brand new plant. It seems to be pretty stable in its growth habit already. So there, it's cleaned up, and I am going to give it a little bit of a, this is a plastic toothpick, and see how this leaf is just, I'd really like it to be here. I'm gonna see if I can place it there, using that toothpick. And it will eventually grow now in that shape, and that gives us a little better shape. Now the last step is I'm taking the pot out, and I have to go wash this end, so hang on and I'll be right back. Okay, this has had a good rinse with just with warm tap water again, no soap, and I'm just using a paper towel to kind of blot up any loose water, you know what I mean, that's in there. And then this is the water that went through my Brita pitcher, and I'm going to fill the base of the pot up. And I'm going to fill it right to about there. That's about halfway. It's floating in there, but it doesn't seem to be too much water because it's not splurting out the top. And there we go. Thank you for joining me in this experiment with the big box violet. Phase 2. I'll be right back. So you guys, pretty interesting, huh? Cross our fingers. I really have never grown a plant like this before, and I've never repotted one back into a self-watering pot, and putting a plant this size into a pot this size, it just goes against everything that I've ever learned. And so, but it worked the first time, so I'm hoping it's going to work the second time. Let's cross our fingers and we'll see how it goes. I hope that was helpful for you, particularly if you like to grow in self-watering pots. You know, not everybody grows for show. I know that. I mentioned that earlier. And so this is a great way to just have a plant in your sunroom, you know, or in your kitchen, or in your bathroom, or somewhere in your home, or your office even, if you have the right light. Well, it's time to take a look at what's on the stands. So it's a longer look this week. I thought I would try to, since everything was repositioned, try to give you a good idea of what is growing where at this juncture. So I'll see you on the other side. Here we are in the guest room, and here's Rob's Wagga Wagga, and you can see that it is really getting ready here, getting ready to bloom. It's a little turn. Here is Optimara Ontario, looking good. I can see at least one bloom stalk. It needed a little turn. Here is Vaughn's Little Lady, and it's got, you see, it's got some one bloom stalk coming up there, so things are going well. And over here is Roulette. You can see that bloom stalk. Give everybody a turn. over here. This is Optimara, Michigan. And you guys, you can see things, these are growing. I'm going to shift these so the leaves are not touching. And we've got at least one good bloom stalk coming there. And everything looking good. And this is Western Moon, looking good. Optimara, Michigan, a little haloing going on, and yet it doesn't look bad. I think it's more pronounced on the camera. I think it's just fine, really. It's very interesting because I've been noticing that on a few different plants. Now here's shelf 2. And guys, can you see that everything is growing? I love this. Here's Fisherman's Paradise, really growing. In fact, I'm about ready to move this one to a 4-inch pot. I think it's ready. It's got some leaves that need to come off. There we go. Looks like we got a... Well, no, it's just a wonky leaf. I thought it was some mildew. This is Optimara, Hawaii. And it's just kind of growing that way. This is House of Amani. This is a species, and I took a lot of leaves off of it last week. We'll see how it does. This is, I'm trying to give you guys a good look today of everything. This is Jersey Rose Trail. And this is my plant of Rob's Antique Rose. Remember I had a new one that came in the box of joy. This is another trail. I think this is Rob's Taruka. Oh no, this is Pixie Blue. What's wrong with me? And it's getting ready to bloom. I think I'm going to disbud it because I'm hoping to take it to National. This is Reflections of Spring. It's growing. Here is Rob's Sarsaparilla. I'm really liking this one. Came in the box of joy. And Geisha Girl, which I believe also came in the box of joy. And here is Blueberry Sprite, looking good. And this is my newest Kent Stork plant, Santee Sioux. Liking it too. Let's take a look at the third shelf. Guys, lots of stuff here. Isn't this great? I love this. There's Powwow from last week. Powwow I kept. This is Fresh Air, I believe. Yep. This is Smooch Me. It's a little turn. Oh, there's some water sitting in there. Doesn't need that. Oh, this is very dirty. This, poor thing. This is the Obeetzia. Did I say that right? It's Zima Obeetzia. Yeah. That's the one I kept from last week too, but it's filthy. I'm giving it another little while to settle in that pot before I clean it up. Here's a little one that needs a turn. That's the other Jersey Rose Trail. This is Ellie Gardner. It's a standard trailer. I pulled the center on it this last week to encourage it to bloom a little more freely, or to sprout some more crowns. There we go. This is my Jean-Pierre Croteau right here. It is adjusting to this temperature and likes it a lot. This is one from the basement. This is EK Princessa Grezza. This is a Max. Which Max is this? It is Glacial Grape. Here's the backside of Ellie Gardner. You can see in there, starting to grow. This is Wantin' to Bloom. This is Gala Pink. It's an old variety, a vintage. This is probably one of the few minis that I have. I think this is a mini Optimara Little Azurite. Looking pretty good. And this one is Hot Tamales. That's another Kent Stork plant. This is Rob's Taruka. All right, guys. Well, that's the look here. Let's head down to the basement. Here we are, down in the basement. Here is Fisherman's Paradise down here. It's getting ready to bloom. And this is Starry Night Blue, and it is getting ready to bloom. And I am really looking forward to it and crossing my fingers. From the photos I have of this variety, it's one I'm very interested in, so it's this one here. This is one I'm also very interested in. It's called Lavender Tempest. So we'll see how it does. This is Buckeye Lost Love. I had this variety many years ago and was happy to get it back into my collection. This is EK, it says Sky Azure, but there is a Russian name for it, and I don't have it written on the pot. It is trying to sucker. I don't know if you can see that, but there is a sucker down there. I guess you can't really see it. But it's also trying to bloom, and I want to let it bloom, so I'm going to fool around with that, pull the sucker off. Lion's Fireworks, that one you've already seen bloom. This is a plant, it's called Willawa, and I don't have a description for it. It came in the box of Joy, but it looks like it's going to bloom like a little cabbage head. It's pretty cool. Here is the tray, the dome tray. Let me see if I can pick it up, take a look for you guys inside. This is everything that was repotted last week. This is the crown that I restarted last week for Pink Pussycat, and it looks pretty good, much happier. And everything in here is, almost everything is a very light green, which I believe is how all of these, these plants may that just may be their foliage. I guess we'll wait and see. But that's a look in the dome. And this is Traveling Man. This is a standard trailer, and it's getting ready to bloom. I haven't seen it bloom yet, so we'll see how it goes. This was Ma's Old Fashioned, looking very dirty in the pot, but I wanted to let it, again, establish, and then I will clean it up. But, oh, look, here's something you guys should see. This, let's fix this right now. You don't want that to be growing under another leaf, because it will deform itself and then not grow well. Oh, it's being a little cranky. There we go. There we go. That's better. And this is that Ajon's Winter Sun. I decided to see what it would do, and if it's really dirty, if it's consistent as it blooms, with those pink blossoms, we'll see, and it'll be a sport. Let's take a quick look on the baby stand. Surprise! I moved this. Here's my little Apisha, trying to bloom. Apisha Pink Acajou. I've moved it over to the big stand, and actually it's just sitting on this. I need to get a tray and put it in here. I decided to shift it over purely for economic reasons. I really felt I didn't need to have two stands going when I don't have that many plants down here right now. So, but let's go upstairs and take a look in the sunroom. Short stop in the kitchen. This is my Petrocosmia carrii. As you can see, I took some of these older leaves off of it, and this is just how it seems to grow. I don't have a lot of experience yet with this plant, but as the leaves get older, they get a little bit faded, and it's like they're done. It still has all of its blossoms up under the foliage, so I think it may still be getting a little too much light, even though it is a couple of feet from a north window and there's a lace curtain there. So I'm going to shift it again. We'll see where, and I'm going to keep trying till I find the right spot for it. Now let's head to the sunroom. It's a bright sunshiny day here in Chicago, and here is Optimara, a little Wichita girl. It's sitting a little crooked in its pot. There we go. This is Jersey Snowflakes, and it likes this cool temp. Here are the plants of Champagne Pink. I'm about ready to separate these. I'm going to give them a little while longer. There are 4 plants here. That is Shadow Magic, getting ready to bloom. And I'm kind of, you guys have asked me if I ever just let stuff bloom. Well, I let this one bloom. This is Grape Glory. And I really let it come into bloom to not only to enjoy it, but also to finally have something to show you guys that's in bloom. I know you like to see that once in a while. Here's the Gesneriad shelf, both my Columnias. This is Columnia Firebird. This is Columnia Apollo. There's the Orbicularis. You can see the vining, trailing habit that it grows in. Here's Moonlit Velvet. It's blooming over here. Gorgeous. So far, still standing up. We'll see how it does. And here's my Texas Hot Chili. It has a leaf that needs to come off over there that's hanging down, but it's growing. It hasn't shot out any bloom stalks yet, so I don't know, but it's growing. And here's a close-up, one more close-up up here of Grape Glory. I'll pick it up and maybe actually show you how it's growing. The peduncles are standing up well. If I had been grooming this, really grooming it for show, I would have encouraged them to be standing up even a little bit more than they are, but for now, it's looking pretty great. Nothing like a good standard, is there? Okay, let's take a look at the big box violet. And here it is, just a quick look. You've already seen it. That's the look at what's on the stands this week. Everything is getting ready. I mean, getting ready to bloom on that show shelf, and it's just so exciting. This is the part where you just kind of cross your fingers and wait and hope and think, oh yes, finally, here we go. You know, we're about 4 weeks out, I think, now from show, and hard to believe that it's coming that quickly for me at the Illinois State Show. And I'm hoping that all of those plants on the top shelf are going to go with me. We just wait and see how they do. Well, it's time to get the bail money ready. So I have some places to share with you, some shows and some events here. So actually 2 of them in Tucson, Arizona. The Tucson African Violet Society is having their 55th annual show and sale. How exciting is that? It's going to be March 8th, 9th, and 10th in Tucson, Arizona. I'll link to that info in the show notes. If you're in that area, you might want to check it out. And then in Spring Hill, Florida, the Fantasy African Violet Club is having a presentation by Tad Skaggs on the topic, Get to Know and Grow African Violets and Other Gesneriads. And that will be, as I said, in Spring Hill, Florida, and it will be on March 9th. And I will link to that in the show notes as well. So, and of course, the National Convention info is there. And if you have not sent your stuff in, like I have not, I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm usually the first person in line to send my stuff in and register for convention. So I'm going to get cracking here, and this is going in the mail this week. Anyway, it's time to keep moving forward. And as I said, you know, I really have been thinking about this a lot this week because I heard from so many of you. And it was really great to hear from so many of you. And about a topic that I think is so important. So it is a big step forward when, as a grower, you can look at your plants and go, okay, either this one doesn't fit in with my vision for what I want to be doing, or I would like to have some more room to grow something else, and you're following Pauline Bartholomew's advice to make your plants fit your space rather than the other way around. I think that's really exciting, and that is truly about moving forward. And so thank you for joining me here this week again. I want to remind you that I'm still not on Facebook with any great regularity other than to post the link every Sunday for the show episode. And I gotta tell you, kind of missing Facebook. I feel like I'm missing things that are happening around me. I found out a friend of mine was in the hospital, and somebody else moved, and I missed it all because I wasn't on Facebook. But by the same token, I've emailed more with other friends in the last few weeks and spoken with them on the phone, and that is that is a very welcome trade-off. I'm okay with that. But if you have questions for next week or for any time, please leave them on the website for me, and I will do my best to answer them. Better there right now than on Facebook. So I thank you again for joining me this week. Thank you for sharing the podcast with your friends. I don't know if it was last week's episode that it was just wildly popular or what the deal was, but we rolled over 15,000 hits and views on the website last week, which just thrills me. It just thrills me. I can't even tell you how exciting that is to me, that so many of you are watching and coming back week after week, and new people coming and finding the podcast and writing to me and saying, okay, I just found the podcast and I went back to the beginning to watch all the episodes. I'm like, wow. So thank you. You know, the podcast is always available on the website. It's also available from Blip TV, and you can subscribe to it there and also on iTunes. I hope you have a great week ahead. I hope your days are filled with all the things you love. Good growing. I'll see you next time.